Ba ba bum. Ba 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 bum ba ba bum. Ba da 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 ba bum bum bum. Ba da da bum ba da bum 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 ba doo boo ba doo boo doo boo ba doo boo ba boo 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 ba doo ba doo boo. Hey, hey, how you doing there? How you doing out in the world today? Hey there, how you doing, friend? You come to listen to what I gotta say. Hey, 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 hey. I graduated from my TESOL course today. That's Teach English as a Second Language. So I have my certification. Means that I can actually start looking for work in the field. And people will be like, oh, he's got a certification. He's got work in the field. This guy's good. Austin, good to see you. How be, comrade? I'm well, actually. Not only did I get my certification, I got a lot of really, really, really positive feedback. I got a lot of positive feedback from my teachers, from the people who were running the certificate. I was told I'm a natural. That's really nice to hear. Yeah, so I feel like I don't want to start acting like I'm a shoo-in for anything, but I feel like I'm doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. And I feel like I'm doing pretty well in a week that was about as silly as it gets. What are the silly things that happened this week? The UFC Freedom 2050. We're gonna have a fight on the White House lawn. Not gonna lie, I will say this about the UFC Freedom 250 is that, like, once you get over the fact that it's completely undignified, it makes a mockery of the entire proceedings of what it is to, like, have a political force, right? Once you get over the indignity of everything, it does look iconic, right? It does have like an iconic look about it, right? Like if this was like Mortal Kombat and the White House was in the background, or like Street Fighter and the White House is in the background, I'd be like, yeah, all right, baller. The White House level, right? That's awesome. You just got to get over the fact that it completely like strips away any dignity from the office. Peanut Butter Beatrice, good to see you. Oh yes, and the war is over, you guys. For sure, and for real, the war is absolutely totally over. My favorite part. So first of all, no, it's not. Israel is never going to end that conflict. Netanyahu can't end that conflict, right? Netanyahu is in a position politically in Israel where if he actually stops shooting and stops fighting a war, his own people will arrest him. And he will be put on trial for the many crimes that he is certainly guilty of, right? There's a big reason why Netanyahu specifically has been really pushing on, like, war, we got to do the war, greater Israel, we got these plans, expansion, all this kind of stuff, is because it is the smokescreen by which he is obfuscating his extreme crimes, like massive fraud, massive manipulation of voting, if it matters at all, corruption at every single possible level, right? Like it's just silliness upon silliness upon silliness, and so he's caught in this perpetual, never-ending cycle of needing to just like keep pushing the war button, keep pushing the war button, keep pushing the war button, and one hopes that eventually that will blow up in his face. The issue, of course, for the world is that the people who will replace Netanyahu are just as genocidal and psychopathic, right? They're no different. They're just as disgraceful. They're just as ridiculous. Fortunately for us, it seems as though polling is showing us, like, it is not a fringe position to say that Israel's a piece of shit country full of shitheads, right? This whole, like, that's anti-Semitism argument is dead. Anybody trying to uphold that argument is a clown. The entire world thinks that Israel is a shitbag country. Its favorability polling, it's polling worse than North Korea, right? Like it's polling worse than like Uganda. Like everybody is looking at Israel going, you suck. Like you suck. You should not exist as a country. Well, maybe they're not saying that, but the true democratic nation with a $2 donation. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. Yeah, turns out when Trump said unconditional surrender, he really meant our surrender to Iran. Yeah, like, well, if this deal is to hold, and it probably won't, because the Israelis are going to do everything they can to make sure that the deal doesn't hold. But if it does hold, the United States is basically going to get the deal they had under Obama minus $350 billion. It's like clown shoes upon clown shoes. It's what, like, I cannot take it seriously anymore. I'm so beyond the point where I can actually take it seriously. And I think the thing that makes it so clownish and so, like, simultaneously disturbing, but also just, like, laughably mockable, is that there is anybody in the working class or in the society at all that is still like, yeah, Trump's going to solve all these problems. Yeah, he's doing that. It's good. He's getting good deals for us. Like, right now, things have gotten so obvious and so clownish and so stupid and so, like, blatantly, like, smack you in the face on a very clean line that at this point, it's an intelligence test. At this point, we're basically just seeing how many Americans are completely untrustworthy with just the most basic things. And it turns out the answer is, like, 50 million of them, right? Like, that's the thing that's making it so scary. Is not that, like, there's this malignant force operating from behind the scenes to manipulate the population in order to blah, 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 blah. That kind of force has always existed in politics throughout human history. What's scary is that so much of the population is either extremely gullible, extremely stupid, or just maliciously evil, right? Like you're looking at like 50 million people. 50 million people in the United States are just like, yeah, genocide's great. Yeah, let's round up the black people. What are we doing here? Black people shouldn't have the same amount of voting rights that the rest of us do. Yeah, the Latinos, we should round those people up, send them to concentration camps. Yeah, they're buying ovens. What do you think we're doing? Like 30% of the population is 100% doing that. And is just completely fine with it. Or if they're not straight out just like, yeah, just round those people up and burn them, it's fine. If they're not like that, they're like, well, we gotta, there's illegals, and we gotta do something about the illegals, and they wouldn't put them in concentration camps and then roast them alive. What, the CIA confessed to it? Well, that's a conspiracy. Like, it's just so cartoonish. Like, I've been saying it for a while now, but it's just getting worse, that America is like a Rick and Morty parody of a civilization, that it's impossible now to actually do a parody of this country, because it is a parody, it is a satire of itself. That the best that you can do at this stage in the game is just show it. Like, literally just show what it is. And that by itself is a satire, is a parody of itself. And you can't satirize this. How could you possibly satirize this? Like, the best you can do is just do it. Just have a guy be like, yeah, I'm a Trump supporter and I support Trump. I'm a rural farmer supporting Donald Trump because he's gonna chase out all the illegals, and what, my labor force is gone? Nobody can pick my crops anymore? Oh, who could have possibly seen this coming? Oh goodness, it turns out that 1 + 1 in fact does equal 2. Yuckles. Like, these guys are this stupid. Like, they just are this dumb. that their racism and bigotry and stupidity has like completely hamstrung themselves. Like it's just like the largest case of cutting off your nose to spite your face that I think you could possibly see. And for some reason, we're just like all about it. We just love it. And Long Defiant, I wanted Trump in the ring. Like, but that's the power, I think, of like that's the power of nationalism, and that's the power of racism, and that's the power of this religious ideology that has seized control. And I'm seeing the religious ideology come out more and more, by the way. The religious ideology of capitalism is being more succinctly stated now than it has been in the past. That the self-worship, the worship of the self, and the defiance of the idea of a collective is having to come forward because more and more people are recognizing that, like, oh yeah, like I made a decision based exclusively on self-interest because I live in a society that venerates and worships self-interest as a virtue. And I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to double down on this idea that my self-value and my self matters more than anything you could possibly put forward as a collective good. Right? You can't have healthcare because that's authoritarian. Right? Like, and anything that means I have to abide by any kind of stricture or law, no matter what the law is, even if the law is I'm not allowed to own slaves, that's bad and that's authoritarian, because the only thing that matters in the world at all is me and what I think. And if I say it has value, then it does. And if I say it doesn't have value, then it doesn't. And if you have a society of people who think like this, 50 million people think this way, you're going to tear yourself apart, right? You're just going to tear yourself apart because it's crabs in a bucket all the way down. And they're just going to tear themselves apart. And we're watching that happen. And like, how could you possibly look at this UFC Freedom 250 and think anything other than, oh yeah, this is a dying civilization. Like, this is a dying country. Like, this country has been seized by the stupidest, most repugnant people in the society, and they're just grinding up anything that could be positive and to put into their own bank accounts for their own idea of legacy. Hull writes, good to see you, by the way, Hull. And JT, good to see you too. As we just got our first trillionaire, don't forget to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Yeah. Like, anybody who's walking around, what do we have? From the Los Angeles Times, right? Elon Musk's new trillionaire status is a good thing, actually. Like, this is how deeply stupid we are. Like, this week was really just like a great moment for just like, look how stupid everything is. Look how stupid we are. Look how stupid the country is. Look how stupid white civilization is, or quote unquote civilization, or white culture, if you want, quote unquote, right? Look how dumb we are. Like, we literally have a trillionaire. And these guys are walking around being like, if you raise taxes on us, it's not going to help anybody. If you take money away from me and give it to someone else, that doesn't help them. It's like, oh, so we're just stupid. Like, we're just straight up not capable of basic reasoning at this point. And what's hilarious about Elon Musk is that he's a trillionaire, but none of his companies are actually profitable. That's the best part, right? That's how you know it's capitalism, and capitalism is working just Jim Dandy, right? Because none of his properties are actually, like, none of his companies are actually profitable. Like, everything is just upheld by onerous taxation on you, the taxpayer, and your tax money goes to him so that he can just jerk off in a corner playing Path of Exile 2 or having somebody else play Path of Exile 2. Like, it's just like so stupid. Dave, good to see you. JT writes, it is sort of neat how Christian nationalists speedrun breaking the Ten Commandments. Yeah, I mean, we're at a point now where Christianity is dead, and we can say that pretty cleanly. Like, there's just no such thing as a Christian. It's such a stupid idea to try to uphold at this point. Like, I'm sure that there are people who consider themselves Christian, and they live where they live, and they exist as they exist. And they do love Christ, and they do uphold that. Like, I would say my dad is like this. Like, I think my dad is like a Christian, and he tries to uphold Christian values and all this. But in terms of like any church, any organization whatsoever, like, I just don't see any reason to see that these have any credibility whatsoever. Like when the Pope stands up and says things, I'm like, yeah, great. Like the head of the pedophile club wants us to actually pay attention to him, and for some reason, whenever he says something, we're all supposed to pause and be like, well, the Pope said. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what the Pope said. Who gives a shit what these guys say? Like, there's no such thing as a Christian. There's just a club where they have seized control of this vague historical or fictional character that exists in our lore named Christ, who they all hate and they all despise, and none of them actually care about even a little tiny bit. And the great irony of it is that Christ would hate them too. Like, Christ would literally pull out the whip and start whipping these guys. And for some reason, they think that we should take their claims to Christianity seriously at all, when these guys are obviously just fraudulent losers who refuse to even abide by, like, the most basic scripture, like, the most basic stuff. Like, we really are at a point, guys, and this is what makes it so funny. Like, this is what makes it so comical and so impossible for me to take seriously at all. Where it is like, so what's 1 + 1? And then you just watch these guys go off and spin in circles and do all kinds of mental gymnastics to try to convince you that, like, 1 + 1 in fact does equal potato. It does! It equals potato! I'm sure of it! And you're just like, so your book says, like, the great commandment, like, the number one thing that your guy, your Christ, right, says is love the Lord with all your heart. Great. And we can have a conversation about who God is and what the Lord is, right, if you'd like. And love your neighbor as yourself, right? He doesn't say unless they're black. Right? I guess that's why you guys are working so hard to, like, chase black people out of your communities, right? Because you don't want your neighbor to be black. And it's just embarrassing. Like, it's just the most embarrassing, ridiculous shit. There's no humility. There's no compassion. They literally call empathy like a mind virus. The idea that these guys should have claim to Christianity at all. Like, when these guys start talking about Christ, we should literally say, Christ would hate you. You're a loser. Christ would pull out a whip and start whipping you. Like, you're a fraud. It's obvious you're a fraud. And this is how we should be talking to these guys. Like, they're just the biggest losers you've ever seen in your life. The idea that they still think they have the right to speak in public has got to be the most embarrassing shit in my life. Oh, my free speech! And then we should just whip them. We just whip them over and over again and be like, here's your free speech, here's your free speech, here's your free speech. Whip them right into a hole where we bury them and forget them. Like, it's just comical. It's just unbelievable at this point. Ugh, Matthew, good to see you. Yeah, white isn't a race, it's a caste. Yeah, like, we invented this shit, right? We invented the concept of white. And like, it's just baby brain bullshit at this point. Like, who is white then? Like, are you white if you're from Poland? If you're are you white if you're from Spain? Like, are you white if you're like the Black Irish from Ireland? Like, who is or is not white, and why do we give a shit? Why does it even matter, even a tiny little bit? It's just got to be the most embarrassing stuff that exists at all. Like, you're literally telling me we're making decisions based on who does or does not get access to resources based on skin pigmentation. Content, good to see you. Hull writes, we don't belong in long-term sustainability. Rent up again? Just get another job. Yeah, I fucking hate this shit. Yeah. No, like, I actually think the blowback from the Trump administration is going to be predictable. People are just going to vote in the Democrats because that's all we do. We don't act like we're cowards. We don't actually have a backbone. Like, we're not actually intelligent people. And so we just vote in Democrats again. But then the true blowback, like the real blowback from all of this shit, is going to be when we vote in Democrats and literally nothing happens. That's going to be like no one's going to go to jail. There's going to be no significant investigations. We'll just keep sending money to Israel. We'll just keep funding ICE. Like, all of these repugnant Nazi institutions will just be upheld. And that's when you're going to see your, like, true blowback. And I'm of the opinion that the real blowback is going to get seized by the next generation of Trump people, because they have no, like, moral center. All they care about is power, right? And so you're going to see, like, your Eric Trumps and your Bannon Trumps. Like, you're going to see the Donald Trump Jr., right? You're going to Hunter Biden, right? You're going to see this next generation of Nazis seize power by, once again, galvanizing the grievances of the population in exactly the same manner, right? These 50 million dumbasses are not going to suddenly die. Like, the 50 million people who are still upholding this absolute clown show are not going to go anywhere, right? And once the Democratic Party, like, takes off the Scooby-Doo mask and reveals, oh, I was just a Republican the whole time, literally everybody's going to do the exact same thing that happened with Kamala, which is just not show up. And so who's going to walk through, like, the dead center of it all? Fucking Nazis, right? Like, this is where we're at with this whole pageantry. Your choice is either an actual Nazi, right, like Pete Hegseth, or somebody who's like, we should do all the stuff the Nazis want to do, but we're not going to do the salute. And that's essentially what we're at right now. And nobody seems willing to fully embrace that reality, right? Like, small segments of people are willing to embrace it, right? But certainly, like, not on the scale that would be necessary to actually tip the political balance in a serious way. Like, everybody's just stuck in this tribal sportsman thinking that it's Democrat versus Republican, when it's just like, these guys are allies, they work together, and it's just a cartoon show at this point. Matthew writes, hi, John, I just want to say I'm almost 26, and I've been watching you for about 3 to 4 years now, so thank you very much for everything you've taught me. You're truly one of a kind. That's very kind of you to say, Matthew. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. At this point, this show has just become my own personal catharsis. That's really all it is at this point. Like, there was a period of time where I thought, I'll do this show and then I'll, like, affect change or something like that and all this kind of stuff. But no, at this point, it's just like, the bomb has gone off and we're just commenting on the fire, right? Like, we're no longer really interested in preventing anything from occurring because the thing has happened. Like, the building has crashed. It's on the ground. It's in rubble. It's in ruins. And now we're just sort of watching as the people run around on fire, right? And it turns out all those people are clowns. So it looks hilarious, right? Clowns running around on fire being like, oh my goodness. And they, like, pull out their seltzer and they're spraying each other. But the seltzer is actually full of alcohol. So it just bursts the flames even more. And then they're all blaming each other. Meanwhile, the people who lit the fire are literally like funneling, like literally the building is burning, the vault is open, the Republicans and the Democrats are both simultaneously just shoveling money out of the vault that they've cracked open into bags that they're shipping to like Hawaii or New Zealand into underground bunkers, and we're all like pointing at each other being like, this is your fault. It's like you couldn't, you can't possibly make a parody of this anymore. It's just you literally just need to like write a script showing what's happening and then present it. And I think lots of people would be like like if I were to do that, if I were to make a satire, right, make a comedy about all of the stuff that's going on, I literally would just depict the things that happened in the order that they happened in, but like in a rapid fire way. And people would be like, wow, what a satire. And my position would always be, this is a documentary, man. Like, this is not a satire. Right? If you think it's a satire, it's because you're not keyed in to what's actually going on in your society. Like, this is not a satire. This is a documentary. Like, to me, that's the most insufferable part about living and observing all of this, is that for some reason, everybody still thinks they should be taken seriously. That's the part about it that I'm just like, oh, like, you, like, the head of the FBI or the head of the CIA still thinks they should be taken seriously as like a person. That they don't respect the office, but they insist that we do. Right? Like they're just there to act as cover for Jeffrey Epstein's clients. And like to act as cover for any investigation going into like, hey, where did all that Jeffrey Epstein money go? Right? Is there another island? Like, are these billionaire pedophiles just going somewhere else? Where are they going? Who are the people who are involved in that? And the only reason the CIA and the FBI exists anymore is to just protect those guys. And so for some, and then when they stand up and they say something, we're all supposed to be like, oh, well, let's very much pay attention to what this very important individual. And you're like Pete Hegseth with the Department of War. Like, it's just absolute clown shoes after clown shoes after clown shoes. And if you ask me, the people who are absolutely dropping the ball on all of this, and at this point I think it's intentional, are the comedians. Like, our comedians are supposed to, like, these were the guys who were supposed to be like, let's take the piss out of power and all this. And I'm like, and they're so soft. Like, their critiques of power are so just like, bleh. So bleh. Like, the president of the United States is a pedophilic rapist who is easily the most corrupt politician that we have ever seen. And yet, for some reason, we're still supposed to take him and anybody else who upholds him seriously. And like, when Trump's gone, all of these toadies, all of the, like, Steve Millers and all of like the Fox News correspondents and the pundits, they're still going to be there. And we're still going to have to tolerate them because a third of the society, 50 million dumb idiots, total dullards, completely like disassociated with reality, who literally worship Christ, who they hate and would hate them. We're still supposed to like take these guys seriously. And if we were to say like, hey, we should arrest these guys for their many crimes, we would be told that we're the authoritarians. Cartoon. It's just a cartoon. Jacob, the Blue Democrat. It's crazy that we have a trillionaire. He's richer than most countries by now. Yeah. No, it's like it's obtuse to the level of intentionality, right? Like, there does come a point where to maintain the absurdity of the system, to maintain the ridiculousness of what's happening, You have to be intentionally stupid. Like intentionally stupid or intentionally obtuse on purpose. That the people who are still arguing that this is good are being intentionally dumb on purpose because they know that it benefits them materially. Like, they don't want to just stand up in front of us and say what is the truth, which is, yeah, we have all the money. What are you going to do about it? Right? Yeah, we've got all the money. What are you going to do about it? We don't care that you're poor. We don't care that you're living in poverty. We don't care that we've destroyed your country. We don't care that we've destroyed your cities. We don't care that we're destroying your counties. We don't care that we're polluting the air, that we're polluting the water. We don't care. We're rich, you're poor. What are you going to do about it? Instead, they've got to find these absolutely ridiculous, asinine, backwards ass arguments for why it's actually a good thing, in fact, that we have a trillionaire. But the thing is, as much as I'm like, this is all ridiculous, a third of the population still is going along with it. So why wouldn't they? Right? Like, if I had no moral scruples, if I was a demon walking around the world being like, oh, I can just convince 30% of you that raping women is good, actually. Okay. I can just make an argument in the Washington Post or the Los Angeles Times that, like, robbing babies is good. And 30% of you will be like, no, that's a good point, actually. Robbing children is a good thing, actually. If those children didn't want to get robbed, they should fight back properly. Right? Skill issue. Like, this is where we're at. Jacob, the Blue Democrat. Yeah, only 21 countries out of 170 have a GDP over $1 trillion. Well, let's be real here for a second, Jacob. This is totally inflated bullshit. Right? Like, it is. It's totally inflated bullshit. Like, if anything should show you that the entire economy of the United States is just a total farce and a total fabrication, that is just completely made up out of whole cloth, and that it's just a bunch of psychopaths being like, yeah, I have value. It's the fact that Elon Musk is considered a trillionaire. Elon Musk provides negative value to the society. He doesn't do anything of value. None of his companies are profitable. All of the wealth that he has is literally just tax money swept up from the populace and handed to him based on these promises that he'll actually do the thing. And then all he really does, like the only thing of value that you could argue he is doing, is he's helping the military militarize space. So he's basically just arming a Nazi force that's going to turn against all of us, by the way. That's the best part. I've been reading this book, and I highly advise we all read it, because and I put a video of an interview with this guy in the Discord. It's called Irregular Army, How the U.S. Military Recruited Neo-Nazis, Gang Members, and Criminals. And this guy, Matt Kennard, basically he's a Brit, and he went and did a bunch of investigation into the United States military. And a big conclusion that he's drawing is, yeah, the way that the United States has maintained its status as having a volunteer army and being a volunteer force is that it just loosened all its regulations and loosened all its laws internally, and its recruitment standards, so that, like, go be a neo-Nazi in the United States Army, right? You be a criminal, absolutely. Like, we actually prefer that, because neo-Nazis are actually, like, willing to shoot people. Like, if we send a group of people to Iran, right, to open fire on Iranians, yeah, neo-Nazis are going to do that with glee, right? They're going to be zealous about it. And, like, so you're arming, training, and giving prestige and respect to neo-Nazis within the United States military, and then expecting that, oh yeah, that's not going to blow back on us. These guys aren't going to turn around and try to take shit over. Like, they're not going to do crazy shit. Sure, that's never happened in history, ever. Like, this is why I'm just like, it's over for us. Like, it's over for the United States. It's over. Like, there's no road back, right? There's no bridge back. The bridge got blown up. The bridge is out. It's over. This is the world that we've got to live in now. And it's like, when I would read about the decline of the Roman Empire, there was still a kind of prestige that was about it, right? Like, everything was presented as if it still had, like, glory, and there was something dignified about it. And now I see, like, no, these guys were all clowns. Like, it was all just shitbag losers, completely self-interested. And the only reason the whole thing worked is because the army that they had were just soccer hooligans, basically. Like, the Roman military wasn't like this prestigious force. It was just a group of soccer hooligans who were like, they're different than us, so let's go get them. Like, that's it. I'm like, that's what we got. That's who we are. Our idea of educating the populace has failed. It's not going to work out. We've dismantled the Department of Education. Like, it's over for us. It's completely over. And we're going to hit, like, brick wall after brick wall after brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. It's just going to be cartoonish. It's going to be great. It is. It's going to be just like, it's going to be like a fireworks show, except instead of it being like an explosion of color, it'll be like another department that just gets blown up, right? And everything will just regress into the state level, or in fact to the city level. And everything will be dramatic and ridiculous and absurd. And we're all just going to be like, yep. Like, and I just can't put any, like, even 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh goodness. And now I'm just like, yep. This is what it's like to live with dumbasses. Like, this is why should my tax dollars pay for someone else's education? This is why. Because if you have a country of dumbasses, if you live in a country of people who are too stupid to understand, like, consequences, like what's 1 + 1 kind of shit, guess what happens? Right? If people can't go 1 + 1 = 2, if they can't do that, then you're not building anything. You're not creating anything of value, right? And you're so easy to trick. You're so easy to deceive. Like, the belief that money is the purpose of all things has got to be just like the easiest grift that has ever happened to a group of people, where we're literally willing to grind up reality for just like shit we invented. Why do you think all this crypto stuff, like all the crypto stuff, is a grift, right? All of it. Bitcoin, Donald Trump's crypto stuff, all of it. It's all just a grift, because these guys are fully aware and they understand that, like, money itself is not really a thing. It's not really a thing that exists. We've just got everybody conned into sacrificing their whole life in this pursuit of wealth and money. For nothing. That's the best part. It's for nothing. Right? There's just, like, no value in it whatsoever. It's like this scandal that happened with Daniel Cormier. Right, Daniel Cormier and Eric Trump. If you're not familiar with this, Daniel Cormier is a actual, like, former UFC champion, heavyweight champion, turned sports commentator, sportscaster, right? And he releases some direct messages that Eric Trump had with him, where Eric Trump basically was trying to get Daniel Cormier to give him the inside scoop on what fights have been rigged, right? Because in Eric Trump's world, all fights are rigged and everything is rigged because the system itself is rigged. So why wouldn't these also be rigged, right? And everything's rigged in Eric Trump's favor, so he just wants to be on the inside track. But what makes that so, like, embarrassing is Eric Trump doesn't need to, like, win a fight bet. Like, what does he need? He doesn't need that money, right? It doesn't matter to him. He just wants to be on the good guy side. He just wants to be on the right side of whatever this Nazi bullshit is. Jacob writes, absolutely, I'm convinced that people with that much money only serve to inflate real estate prices and cause economic problems. Well, because it's a religious belief, right, Jacob? Like, the religious belief is the worship of the self, uh, 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 with money as the value system, operating within a chaos system. That's the religious belief. That the only thing that matters is me, because we acknowledge that there are many me's, right? There are many different people, of which we are not connected to at all, right? We live on islands as far as the religious ideology is concerned. That there's no such thing as society, there's no such thing as a collective. Everybody is just an individual who shouldn't have. There should be no laws. There should be no regulations. There should be no oversight whatsoever telling me no. I should never hear the word no. And because of that, we do need a system of value. Like, we need a system to actually say who is or is not. We need a hierarchy. We need a system to attribute value to one person over another. And so that system is money, right? If I have $1 trillion, I'm at the top of the hierarchy. And if you have 100 billion, you're beneath me, right? And how is that all determined? It's determined within a system of chaos, of a quote-unquote free market system. And so these guys are like chaos death knights, right? Worshipping themselves and money. And that's what they're doing because they refuse to confront themselves, right? Like, the hardest thing for a person to do, by far, is to deal with themselves. Dealing with yourself is easily the most difficult thing. It's so difficult that by the time you get to the end of your life, even the psychopathic, pedophilic capitalist class is like, okay, we should make sure that people, like, have this last leg of their life is not just done in squalor and is horrible, right? Like, we should make sure that when people are dying, like when we're getting to the end of the life, that we actually have. But even then, a lot of them are like, yeah, we should get rid of Social Security. We should get rid of these systems so that people die in misery, right? We should make sure that the people who are at the end of their lives die in squalor. Go do MAID. Like, go do the medical assisted and dying program. It's right there. We'll inject you with drugs and kill you, right? That like you're a dog, right? We'll do it that way. That's nice. But for a period of time there, we were like, okay, like, everybody has to deal with the fact that you get old and decay and die, right? Like, that's part of it. But if you're one of these manic psychopaths, like one of these people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, who's just utterly disconnected from the very concept of the collective or empathy, like you will burn in hell. Like, God is going to take you and be like, oh, okay, like, you think that you are not part of the collective. Very good. Then we will put you in your little box over here. Welcome to hell. And because they refuse to actually deal with themselves, right, all of the insane problems that exist within them, they project outwards. Because that's what people do, right? People project their problems outwards. And it's not so bad when everybody has, like, an equal wealth amount. Like, when everybody's kind of at the same tier, right? You can't really do that much damage. But when you have all the wealth and everybody else doesn't, then your problems are everybody else's problems. And you make your problems everybody else's problem. And your quote-unquote vision for the future becomes everybody's vision for the future. Because there isn't an alternative, right? Like, it's a form of rape, is what it is. Like, this wealth accumulation and this enforcing your vision on other people without their say is a form of rape. It's like what Kevin O'Leary is doing with these data centers. It's a form of rape, right? You're going into a place, they don't want it. They don't want your data centers, and you're forcing it on them anyway. You're raping them, right? Real straightforward shit. And, like, there's just no justification for it whatsoever. And at this point, they don't care. Like, they're not even trying to justify it anymore. Like, their justification literally is, what are you going to do about it? And until we surround their houses, like until we have like literally millions of people surrounding their houses, armed and ready to fight, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. Dave, good to see you. The comedian George Carlin was saying in the 1990s he arrived at the point that he doesn't care about the outcome of the American society. I think for us in 2026, we can no longer deny the signs. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Eggs to eat, Romans literally began as a band of rapey dudes. Yep. I mean, that's all they ever were. Like, that's what's... I don't understand why we're supposed to treat these guys like they had any prestige whatsoever. Like, why does anybody read Marcus Aurelius? Like the Stoics and Stoicism, and there's been this like upswell of Stoic thought and Stoicism, and literally Stoicism is just, how do I deal with being a slaver? Like, how do I square this circle that I am the primary beneficiary of a slave system and I have no intention of actually changing it? So how do I live with myself? And the answer is, don't worry about it. Like, that's Stoicism in a nutshell. Just don't think about it. It's fine. Yeah, I have slaves. What are you going to do about it? Stoicism. Dave writes, Eric Trump asking him if the fight is fixed to bet on it. Yeah, what's so stupid about it is he doesn't need the money. Like, he doesn't need the money. Like, so he's clearly doing it because he wants to have, like, the thrill of it, or he wants to be on the inside of it, right? He wants to be an insider. He wants to feel like a special boy, right? And that's kind of what it is with all these guys, is that they just want to feel like a special boy. They don't actually have, like, they stand as the clearest evidence that you could ever see for why billionaires should simply not exist. We should simply not have them. Because it clearly makes people miserable. It clearly makes them just horrible. Nilo, good to see you. Yeah, alternatively, how do I deal with this life as a slave? Step up or lift, eat bitterness, pull up them bootstraps. Exactly. Right? Stoicism. Right? And in a lot of ways, it like blends really cleanly with like capitalist realism, right? Like, oh, we can't change this system. This is the system as it is, right? Like, this is just the innate, normal, everything regresses to this point. No matter what you do. And we're going to see to it. Jacob writes, taxing billionaires is becoming less of a way to curb them. They just keep expanding their influence and control. I'm almost becoming communist. Yeah, no, look, at the end of the day, I've been saying it for years, right? I don't need to advertise communism, right? Capitalism will do that job for me. That the system of capital will become so repugnant, so irredeemably unreformable, so incapable of responding rationally. Like, do you understand how ridiculously and cartoonishly easy it would be to quell a lot of this dissent? Do you have any idea how simple it actually would be to get the vast majority of Americans to just get back on the couch and shut up about it? Right? Give them a 10% pay raise. Raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $8.25. Like, no joke. Like, Americans are so, like, gullible, fat, stupid, and cowardly that you would really only need to increase their share of the pie by, like, 0.00001%. And most of them would just be like, oh, cool, I'm gonna go to McDonald's now. Right? And, like, they still won't do it. They're not responding rationally. They haven't been responding rationally since the 2008 financial collapse. The 2008 financial collapse was the moment for the system to be like, okay, it is time for us to actually do some like serious thinking about where are we putting our resources, where are we putting our, like, That was the moment when there needed to be, when it would have been beneficial for everyone, right? Whether you're the Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or Barack Obama or George W. Bush, right? It would have been beneficial for everyone if in the wake of the 2008 financial collapse, they were actually like, okay, like, we should stabilize this system. Like, we should think about what we can do to stabilize things. But instead of that, they just doubled down on the religious ideology and just continued vulturing the thing and tearing it apart. And now everything's set up for another financial collapse. That's going to make the 2008 financial collapse look like baby's first financial collapse. And when it happens, I'm just going to be like, yep, here it is. So it's why I think the idea of having investments or putting your money into stocks or any of this kind of stuff is just, okay, bud, like, that's all blowing up, right? It's all blowing up because everything is now just a pump and dump scheme, right? There's no such thing as an investment. The thing you're investing in is fictional and speculative. It's a fictional investment in a speculative idea that's not going to happen. And literally, it's all designed so that when the thing blows up, you lose all your money to the 10 people who actually own all of the assets. And then all of the actual assets, the real assets that exist, will plummet in value, and then they'll scoop them up. This is what they've been doing for decades now. Right? It's not a new sham. It's not a new game. Like, they've been just doing the same thing over and over and over again right in front of our faces. And literally a third of us are just like, but that's good, isn't it? That's the goodest way to run an economy. And if you say otherwise, then you're a bad communist. No, I don't know anything about communism, except that it's always bad. Okay, bud. Like, people will become communists not ideologically. They won't become communists out of a sense of, like, ideological purity. They'll become communists because they'll have to survive. Like, that's what it's going to become. That the option is going to be communism or death. Guess what's going to happen? People will pick communism. That if they're going to die anyway, they're going to go down swinging. And that's what it's going to look like. And the thing that makes it so embarrassing, I've said it before, but it's worth restating, and it's worth saying over and over again, is, like, it's so preventable. The ruling class could get ahead of this, and they could get ahead of this in just the easiest, cleanest way possible. Literally just give people money. Just give people access to the economic system. That there's plenty of assets, right? There's plenty of resources, right? It isn't as though there are actual shortages of anything. It isn't as though there's actual scarcity. All the scarcity that exists is manufactured, right? Like the food prices going up is a joke. We have food coming out of our assholes. We throw away 40% of our food. So the idea that food prices are going up is just clown shoes, bananas, bonkers, just literally rich people gouging you. And incidentally, that's starting to blow up in their faces because more and more people are starting to put together that, like, hold on a second. The entire story of supply and demand that I've been told by these rich psychopaths is that if you have a glut of resources and demand does not increase, then prices should drop, in fact. But prices are going up. And then simultaneously, when the prices are going up, what they call inflation, because these guys wouldn't just be lying fraudulent losers, right? When prices go up, all of a sudden, the people who are saying, oh, it's because of inflation, are also bragging to one another about how much money they're making. We have record-breaking profits, but we had to raise prices because of inflation. Like, and I would ask the question, like, are we stupid? But the answer is yes. Like, that's the best part. I used to actually say out loud, like, are we stupid? And with this answer, with this, like, rhetorical thing, but yeah, we are. Speaking of stupid, we have a moron over on Twitch, racial loyalty. Let's read this and then ban you. This is going to be good. serious thinking coming from a Jew-loving communist. You're no better than a right-wing Christian. Christianity and communism are Jewish twins, and idiots believe in either are cattle. No one is stupider than a racist. You are the dumbest person alive. I hope that something bad happens to you and that you repent. No Nazis in the chat. Like, your life is a joke. There you have it, guys. Just all the evidence you need. Just like, and of course he runs off because he's a coward, right? There's just losers, right? Like we're a society of clownish losers, full of dim-witted morons who are too stupid to understand when we're being pickpocketed. And now it isn't even pickpocketing. It's just literally them coming up and be like, give me your money. And then if we say no, they club us and then take the money. And then we're like, hey, that was a crime. And they're like, who are you gonna complain to? Shut up. And that's basically it. It's basically it. Jesus. It's a difficult task to wish to be active against a system that's constantly hitting us back. Like right now, there is a persistent belief still in the society, because we're such dimwits, that we still think that we can reform this. We still think that we can vote our way out of this. We still think that there is an electoral solution. And I think the people who are saying that are as stupid as MAGA people. Like, I think that there's just like no evidence to suggest that that's the case. There's no evidence to suggest that the Democrats are going to be interested in reforming the system. They never have. Like, the only time Democrats have actually attempted to reform the system to any degree whatsoever is when their houses were surrounded. Are we surrounding their houses? No. Then the idea that somehow they're just going to, out of the goodness of their heart, or out of their sense of moral superiority, in spite of all evidence to the contrary, start passing legislation to help anybody or do anything of value for anybody. It's like clown shoes, cartoonish nonsense. Like, it's got to be like the highest level dumb assery I've ever seen. Like, that level of thinking makes the MAGA people look like fucking geniuses. It's just like, abandon that shit. Like, get away from that. Because, like, the Democratic Party is a party of Zionists, right? They like Nazism. They view, like, we live in this tech oligarchy, where it's a form of fascism. And in fascism, you need to have subhumans, right? There are subhumans in your ideology. And in like this techno-fascism that we live in, the subhumans are humans, right? So the only people who, so the choice for the political class is to be on the side of the oligarchy, to be on the side of wealth and power, or to be a subhuman. Right? Like, that's the way it's structured now. And that's why they have no problem ramming in all this data center stuff. That's why they have no problem, like, increasing poverty and destroying the society they're a part of, because everybody's a subhuman now. Right? If you're a human, you're subhuman. Right? AI is going to have more rights than you. That's how this is going to go. And it's just like AI is clear. Like, if we were following traditional like laws of supply and demand and like capitalist rules, insofar as there are rules, the AI bubble would have blown up a year ago, right? Why isn't it blowing up? Because the rich people are like, no, we want this, right? We don't give a fuck about whether or not it's profitable. We clearly don't care if it's profitable. Elon Musk hasn't been profitable in his entire life. Elon Musk has not made $1 in his entire life. And yet he's a trillionaire. Why? Because we want him to be. Right? We want him to be. And so he is. And why is Elon Musk a trillionaire? Because he's a fucking Nazi. And he does all the Nazi shit that we want him to do. like it's over with a capital O. Like, over. Nilo says they don't want to just give people money because if they give them an inch, they'll take a mile mentality as well as in for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah, they would prefer that we just die. That's all. Like, that's really the long and short of it, is that when it comes down to it, their strategy is to retreat into their gilded palaces, right? To run to New Zealand, to go to their bunkers in Hawaii, to run to their gated communities in Texas, right? And just watch us starve. Like and to use their police fortresses, right? To use their police cities as cudgels, and to just use places like ICE and to use organizations like ICE and the CIA and the FBI to terrorize the populace, and break apart any kind of organization that stands against them. And like, they think that they've won that, by the way. And guess what? I'm of the opinion that they have. Right? We're not actually fighting back, right? And any fighting back that's going to happen moving into the future is literally going to be small local communities just like organizing amongst themselves. It'll be like small places that are not that important, that are kind of off the beaten path, that aren't really causing any problems for anybody. And they'll just quietly coalesce amongst themselves and be like, okay, well, it looks like the world blew up, so fend for ourselves. And it's from there that socialist and communist ideas will persist, because the cities, which are just playgrounds for the rich now, will just be completely dominated. And if you try to actually build any kind of like communist power or communist authority or socialist power within the cities, they'll just send the police in and kill people. And that'll be fine. Right? Hull writes, Twitter is genuinely frying people's brains. I think it's the opposite. Right? I think that all Twitter is doing is just showing you how fried people's brains were to begin. Dittos. Hi, this is Donald J. Trump, your president. I'm going to need you to Venmo me $1,000 to cover your share of the payments to Iran. That's so funny, too, because Twitch, that comment that you made, Ditto, Twitch filtered. It showed it to me, and it was like, this might be a scam. So congratulations, Twitch. You're smarter than 99.9% of Americans. Because 99% of Americans would be like, whoa, the president's asking for money. We got to make sure that we're paying money to Iran. Jacob, they keep tech updates to themselves for the profit motive, while as soon as China got the know-how, they created a program with an open code. Yeah. So we could be ahead in many fields, but because of the profit motive, they're holding it back. Yeah. No, the profit motive is like, capitalism is structurally a disaster on all fronts. To me, and like, their arguments are stupid, right? The arguments that like competition breeds innovation is stupid. That's a stupid way to think. Like, imagine believing that the best way to create an innovative society is to spend twice the resources, not share information with one another, and in fact build like sub-industries of espionage and counterintelligence in order to undercut one another, don't work together under any circumstances. And from this, the best product will emerge. It's just like, that's very dumb. That's a very, very dumb way of thinking about anything. That very obviously, the best way to actually innovate is to fund a group of people to innovate and just say to them, yeah, we're going to give you the resources that we need. Go to it, right? Start researching, like, it is actually amazing how many modern inventions were created because of the military funding that happened during World War II. because of the rapid industrialization of warfare, this whole idea of like a free market making blah blah blah, that just goes right out the fucking window. And huge sums of money just get flown into R&D departments, and a ton of discoveries are made through this process on accident, where they're trying to figure something out and they're trying to figure something out, and so and through their process of trying to figure out one thing, they just figure out another thing. Rubber was like that. They just figured out rubber, and they were like, "Oh, rubber." Yeah, the only thing competition innovates is imperialism. Yeah, and it's just a scam, right? Like, it's just a way to con as much wealth and most importantly time and labor out of you. That's all. Like, their goal is to get you to grind your entire life and your entire existence doing their work for them. That's their goal, right? If they can get you to fill out all this paperwork on their behalf, they'll do it. They don't want to do it. They're not interested in doing that. And the further removed from the from your job they are, the better, right? And so my feeling on this whole thing is like the greatest form of rebellion in this society is to stop participating. Stop participating in this lunatic shit. Like, stop going for the big job. Certainly don't work for these banks. Certainly don't spend any time in the financial industry. Like, start treating people who are bankers badly, right? Start spitting at them, start insulting them, literally walk away from them. If you find out, like, if you go on a blind date and you find out they're a banker, stand up and say no thanks and leave. Like, start treating people who are psychopaths like they're psychopaths. Sorry, you're a banker? Okay, psycho. Bye, lunatic. Hall writes, sign of high intellect is cooperation. Competition is erosion and destroys progress eventually. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a surefire sign that you're just eating yourself as a people, right? Like, there's a reason why, like, this it's just little kid thinking, right? Like, I'm the special little boy and I get all of the treats for myself and I don't have to share and I'm not part of a society. Like, okay, so you're just a little kid. And these are the rulers of the society. These are the people who are in charge of our guns. It's, okay. And like, as we go into this decline, and it's gonna get like really bad, like really, really bad. Like, we just lost this war to Iran, right? Like, really pause about this. Really think about this, okay? Because like, the real truth about how things, like, I'm constantly told, like, oh, you don't know how the world works, by people who think money is real, right? Oh, you don't know how the world works. It's like, yeah, but you think a fake thing that we invented out of thin air is real. So why should I take what you have to say seriously about anything? The way the world actually works is essentially just prestige. What we call prestige, which is essentially just trust, right? That's as real as money is, right? That if you think a country is going to do the thing they say they're going to do, you're going to be more willing to go along with them or to act in certain ways. The United States is just straight up like, who knows what the fuck they're going to do next? Who has any idea what they're going to do next? Like, they could literally announce an invasion of Cuba this weekend, right? Like, now that this Iran thing is dusted up, they could just straight up be like, yep, now we're going for Cuba. They could announce an invasion into Greenland or Canada or Mexico, right? We actually have. I won't be too surprised if the president of Mexico gets assassinated soon. Mexico just went universal. 120 million citizens now get free health care, no premiums, no copays, no requirements. So Mexico, like most of the rest of the world, has taken steps to be like, yeah, universal healthcare is obviously the way to organize this. This is obviously the way forward. It's the most efficient, most effective, cheapest, less unburdensome, most moral way to ensure that everybody in the society has access to healthcare. The idea that people should not have access to healthcare is psychotic. Like, just straight up psychotic. The people arguing that people should not have access to healthcare are Nazis, and we should treat them as such. Hall writes, you think Israel will hijack the whole peace deal? Israel's already rejected the proposal of retrieving troops from Lebanon. I spell an incoming false flag. They've already bombed Iran. They've already launched missiles at Iran. Iran has already launched missiles back at Israel, right? The United States has not retaliated directly, but like, to me, the only way that there's actually going to be like a peace deal, because Israel is so far gone as a society, because it's so unrepentant and incapable of having basic empathy or humility. It's just a genocidal monster, and will stay that way permanently. That's what it is. The only way the United States is ever going to get to a place where anybody in that region takes seriously any of their peace deals for real is if they finally just abandon Israel and just leave it to itself, right? Like, if the United States stopped funding Israel, Israel would cease to exist. And it would happen pretty much immediately, right? Israel's healthcare system, its education system, and its military are funded completely by the United States. Sure, Israel has like its own amount of trade and its own kind of economic concerns, but all of those economic concerns are directly connected to the United States. And so if the U.S. finally just threw up its hands and just said, well, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is this? Why are we spending any amount of time funding this obvious psychopathic rogue nation who is completely disconnected from just the most basic of decorum, right? Just walk away from them. And until that actually happens, the United States is just going to continuously be embroiled in war after war and after war, which is destroying them. Like, it's destroying America, which seems to be the goal. It seems to be the goal now, is to destroy America. Jacob writes, to be honest with you, I'm more inclined to believe that Israel will break any ceasefire deal that happens at some point. They already have. Like, it's not at some point. It literally is like Donald Trump signs deal, Israel bombs. Like, it's just like, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. And there are two good reasons for why they don't care. Number one, Netanyahu knows that if peace is declared, the next thing that's going to happen is he'll be deposed as the leader of Israel. Like, that's for sure going to happen. There's stiff opposition in Israel against Netanyahu, and there have been coup attempts. There's been, like, the politics of Israel is incredibly intense. Like, it's incredibly intense, and Netanyahu knows that this endless forever war is really his only way to maintain power. And that if suddenly peace were declared, he would be on the chopping block for sure, like 100%. He will be arrested by his own people, and he will go to jail. Like, that's a thing that's 100% going to happen to him, and he knows it. Like, it's not a secret. He's aware of it. But then there's also the other side of it, which is like, the people of Israel themselves are just genocidal maniacs. Like, the genocides that they're enacting on the rest of the world are very popular. The people of Israel have extremely high favorability for them. It isn't like it's happening by a small fringe minority in Israel. Like, 80 to 90% of Israelis are like, yeah, genocide those Gazans. Lebanon belongs to us. Like, they're gone. Like, they're done. Like, the idea that there's going to be some, like, come to Jesus moment and they're going to have, like, a big conversation about how do we live peacefully with our neighbors, that's not going to happen. Like, it's just not going to happen. These people are Nazis. Jacob continues, isn't Netanyahu condemned and under arrest by the Hague Court or something? Yep. He avoids traveling to countries other than the U.S. Yep. There are countries that have explicitly stated that if he shows up in their country, they'll arrest him. Like, he's a war criminal. And we fund and support him because of reasons. And those reasons seem to be pretty much just boiled into Christian nationalism and Christian Zionism. The idea that Jesus Christ is coming back at any time, and we should usher in the end times because that'll bring Jesus back. You know, that person who we explicitly hate and despise. We loathe Christ, and yet for some reason we love him. Everything that Christ said we hate, and yet we venerate him. It's so insane. That's the thing about these Christian nationalists. Like, and you should just say it to them. I do. Right? The moment I find out that somebody's like a Christian evangelical or a Christian fascist, I'm just like, yeah, why do you guys worship a guy you hate? Like, you obviously hate this guy. Like, if I said, I love the color red, and then you did everything you could to spit on the color red, I'd be like, oh, you don't like me. Like, it's very straightforward. You don't listen to anything Christ says. You don't give a shit about him as a figure at all. The only time you ever evoke anything he said is to uphold your own psychopathic bigotry. Like, why do you venerate a person you obviously hate? Like, that's the only question that any of these Christian nationalists should be asked. And we should be making them defend their position in Christianity. And we should be making them be like, no, I love Christ. Yeah, but you hate everything he says. Like, you despise everything he stands for. Like, in what universe can you say that you love someone if you despise everything that they say? What's the connection here? And it's literally the only conversation we should be having with these guys about the subject. Because, forget about this conversation of that the atheists throw out there where it's like, well, Christ didn't even really exist, because that's useless. It's not helpful at all. What is helpful is pointing out, like, you guys hate this guy. Like, you obviously hate this guy. Like, why should we take you seriously? If this is how you treat your Christ, how are you going to treat me? Right? Why should I take you seriously at all when you don't listen to the people who you claim to be your, like, mentors and claim to be your, like, spiritual guides? You obviously hate them. Like, Christ would straight up be whipping you. Like, he'd straight up be taking out the whip. Hull writes, wouldn't that activate the Samson option if America stops funding Israel since its existence may be threatened? That's world ending. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Israeli threat of nuclear bombardment is overstated. Like, I think it's overstated. The nukes have to come from somewhere, right? Iran has the capacity to knock shit out. So I don't know. It seems to me that and like, oh, so you want like the whole of Europe and the whole of the world basically to essentially turn against you and see you as a valid military target. Oh, okay. Peanut Butter Beatrice says U.S. won't give up Israel. Christian nationalists in AIPAC have anything to say about it. Yeah. Like, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, these guys are lunatics. Like, they've lost the plot completely. I have no idea what they're trying. Like, I don't even know why they bother with the Christianity stuff anymore. I don't know why they bother with the Christ stuff. It just has to be that there is, like, still a large enough segment of Christians who are, like, well-meaning Christian folk who are still going along with it because that they're part of the tribe. But like, it's so obvious that the like Christian nationalists and the people who are part of the evangelical churches are psychopaths and despise Christ. Like, just loathe him to the and like, if I was a Christian, like if I was a real Christian, I would be denouncing these guys. I'd be denouncing them long and hard because they're destroying Christianity. Like, I don't think Christianity survives. Like, in America, I think that Christianity is becoming synonymous to psychopathy. That if somebody, like, if I were to go on a date with somebody, like when I'm scrolling through the socials or whatever, and somebody's like, I'm a Christian, I'm like, moving on, not interested. Like, not interested in your nutbag shit. Because you're obviously a nutbag. Like, you're obviously out of your fucking mind. If at this stage in the game you're still like, Jesus is my guy. I love Jesus. Fuck you. Like, if that's what your Jesus is all about, you can keep him. Yeah, imagine sharing borders with Israel, yeah. Nilo writes, because they turned Jesus into their get into heaven free card, all they have to do is call him their savior and say sorry. Which is like little kid logic, isn't it? It's just like the most embarrassing shit. As if Jesus won't look at you and be like, yeah, you hated me the whole time. I don't give a fuck that you are like pretending like you loved me. Everything you did, the very fact that you are doing those actions in my name is so despicable that I'm sending you to the lowest ring of hell. Like, that's what Christ should be saying to these guys. Like, oh, you upheld Nazism in my name? Enjoy the 8th ring of hell. Right? Say hi to Lucifer. JT writes, there's poetic sadness in the Holy Land itself being the peak of industrial fascist genocide and whitewashed supremacist tourism and all that. Yeah. Like, it turns out that we're still kind of just monkeys. Like, it just kind of turns out at the end of the day that we're still just little monkey-brained monkeys, and we're not too far removed from that. That, like, the appearance of the separation, the illusion of the separation exists because we have technology, right? That we mastered fire. And then from the mastery of fire, we mastered electricity, right? And so, but really, like, that only means that we're like a few thousand years ahead. And like, we have our own language and they have their own language too. We don't pay any attention to it. And so we've created this like illusion of superiority. But really, like, the big question is like, maybe this is just an evolutionary dead end. Maybe this whole like experiment into technology is the universe being like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, it leads to total fucking disaster. Okay. Back to the squids. Like, all the evidence is right in front of you. Okay, hold on. I need to go use the washroom. I shall return. I shall return. And I just keep circling back around to like, why should I listen to anything these guys have to say anymore? Like, they keep insisting that they're the center of the culture. That the Christians and the capitalists, they just keep insisting that they're the center of the culture. And the only reason we still listen to them is because they're the loudest. Right? Because they keep like raping us with their control of the airwaves. And I just keep asking the same question. Why do we even care what these guys have to say? They're so obviously frauds. Like, they're so obviously frauds. They're not even attempting to uphold anything. They're not even attempting to make arguments anymore. They're so completely obviously fraudulent. And yet we do. We continue pretending as though, like, yeah, Taylor Swift. We should definitely pay attention to everything Taylor Swift has to say. Like, shut up. No, we shouldn't. Like, no, we shouldn't. We should abandon all of these guys. Like, every single one of them. Like, it'd be so wonderful if Taylor Swift released her next album and everybody was just like, just didn't even listen to it. That they, like, played it on the radio and people just flipped to the next station and just stopped paying attention. Literally just like, oh, you're a billionaire? Bye. Straight up, just down the tubes, complete blackballing, right? But unfortunately, like, again, we circle back to the problem. At least 50 million of us are just essentially monkeys. And people are intelligent enough, right, to go, oh, I can get money from those monkeys. Oh, I can convince those monkeys that their big problem is another monkey that's slightly different color. This monkey is brown. You are a beige. Beige good. Brown bad. Yeah, it's hard enough to convince people to pirate shit. Yeah, it's just, we're really getting to a point now where, and I shouldn't say getting to the point, like, we're there, that all scarcity is illusionary. All scarcity that exists is now manufactured, right? That we have access to the goods. We have the food. We have the shelter. We have access. We have it. The only thing we don't have is access to it. That's gate-kept from us. That's manufactured. That the rent could be low, like almost free. The food could be basically free. We could literally use, like, the library model or the healthcare model for things like food and shelter. Like, we could definitely be doing that. We won't, right? Because what we're experiencing is just a crisis of imagination. That we're all, for whatever reason, still tolerating, like, people like Mark Carney. Like, what are you talking about? Like, here, that's so embarrassing to have this Mark Carney guy as our leader. It's just like, literally a banker. Like, literally just a banker. Is the Prime Minister of Canada. Literally the worst, obvious, like, a profession that should definitely not exist. The idea that there should be private bankers is just like, that should not be a thing that exists in the society at all. Right? Like, it should, to the degree that there should be banking in the society, it should be like a small department that's controlled by a ministry in the government. And that's it. That's to the degree that we even need or require money. Like, I'm still not convinced that money is even really necessary for anything. Like, what do we need this for? Like, what's the point of money? And the defenders of money will be like, well, it's how we organize complex society and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you know what else we could do? We could just come to decisions and agree upon things. Right? Like, it's this desire to have, like, a faceless currency make important life decisions on our behalf. That you need to prove to the faceless currency that you have value. That your existence is not valuable enough. It's just another way to turn you into a subhuman. Really. I don't know why we should tolerate it. I don't know why we put up with it. I don't know why we listen to these people anymore. But we do. And that's the most exhausting part, right? Is that now that it's gotten so clownish, I feel like I'm kind of going in circles on this point, but it is how I feel this week, especially, because things are so stupid. That Like, the only reason we have to engage in these ridiculous conversations is because a huge segment of the population does. And, like, you've actually got to listen to their dumbass shit. It's straight up, and it is, like, at the point now where it's like the flat earthers have taken over. And they're all like, no, the earth is flat. The earth is flat. Here's the evidence for all the flat earth, why the earth is flat. And the AI says the earth is flat. And we have to engage them. We can't simply just roll our eyes and be like, okay, and like walk away. No, we have to actually talk to them. And it's like, oh boy. Like, holy cow. Yeah, we don't burn money because most people find a use value for it. Yeah, like we've erected a system of worship where we worship money instead of life itself, right? Like, instead of valuing the commodities, instead of valuing the good, right? We value money, and we think that money matters more than the good. That the fact that you can take money and get a good for it is secondary to money, right? That uh, uh, that the money is the god. That's all. And just because we've erected this like ridiculous system that says, "Oh, you've got money, so you can get access to goods," like, doesn't that sound stupid? Like, doesn't that sound silly as shit? It's just a system that exists because a bunch of rich psychopaths say it should exist, and we all abide by that because of reasons. And we take that seriously because of reasons, I guess. Not thinking that, like, oh, this is obviously a system of systemic control. Like, this is very straightforwardly a system of, like, yeah, we can insist that a person should spend their entire life grinding their life away for money, and can convince them that that's valuable and that's a good thing for their society and their community and for themselves, while we go off to Jeffrey Epstein's island. We'll do that, right? We'll definitely do that. Like, if you look at the history of money, if you look at how money was traditionally used in societies, they did not have this sacred, holy veneration of money in the same way that we do. Yeah, and this is a good thing. Drug addicts don't quit because there's something useful about the drug. Like, the use case for money is that you have a market and people have money and they can go to the market and trade for goods, right? That's what it is. But we've taken this to such a degree that it's so ridiculous. That this is why I'm actually, like, in favor. Like, if suddenly I had the power to enact legislation, I would just destroy the money. I would destroy the money and redistribute it. And I would do it in a day. I would have absolutely no sacred fealty to money whatsoever. I would literally just be like, yeah, all the money. So Elon Musk's entire net worth is wiped out. Kevin O'Leary, Mark Carney, all these guys, I just wipe them out. Right? All these guys being like, we're the investors. We're super intelligent special boys. We're the investor class. We're super important. I'd wipe them all out. And then I would redistribute the wealth. And I would put in a policy of just wiping out the money and redistributing. Oh, John, won't that have... Yeah, I'm sure it will. I don't give a fuck. Like, the capitalists have lost all credibility at this point. Like, I'm not even interested in fielding their questions. I'm not even interested in justifying my position to them. Why would I? Right? Like, I'm not going to try to convince a rapist why rape is bad. I'm just going to arrest them and put them in prison. That's it. I'm not going to try to convince a murderer why, like a serial killer, why serial killing is bad. I'm just going to arrest them and put them in jail. I'm not going to try to convince a capitalist why capitalism fails and doesn't work. I'm just going to strip them of their wealth and insist that they're no longer participating in our society in a meaningful way. Like, we should not be debating these guys. We should be exclusively clowning on them and pointing out how goddamn stupid they are all the time. Because that's all they are. They're just the stupidest people in the world. Like, who is stupider than a person who's like, money is the reason we exist? The profit motive. yeah, we should poison the air and the water and the food and destroy communities and go to war for money. Who's stupider than that? Was there anybody stupider? No. There's literally no one on the earth more stupid than that. So we should just be clowning on these guys. And just anytime they stand up, you're like, the market is going well. It's like, yes, the market. God bless the market. Holy market. Jesus Christ said the market was good. And if they complain that we're not taking it seriously, we just say, you're not serious. You're the biggest loser I've ever met in my life. No one is stupider than you. Like, stop taking these people seriously and stop treating them like they are serious, because they're not. Clown on them, because they are clowns. like we should be spitting at these people. I don't understand why we're supposed to pretend like they have decency and dignity. Like, they don't. They're child raping psychopaths. Each and every single one of them. At best, they knew all about it and were just like, fuck them. Like, we should be stripping their wealth away from them, and we should not be justifying it to them. Like, they have lost the right to govern. They have lost the right to rule. They have lost the right to have an opinion, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't give a shit what Charles Manson thinks about serial killing. I don't give a fuck. Why would I ever care about what, like, Jason Voorhees thinks about slaughtering people? Like, why would I give a shit about that? Why would I care what Hitler thinks about the genocide of the Jews? Why would I give two fucks? The only reason I would listen to it is to show it to people, to be like, yeah, if you say this, you're in trouble, right? And by the way, I think everything I'm saying here, dead center. I think this is just the new center. That people are going to finally come around to, like, oh, if you let psychopathic child raping molesters into your society, then your society turns to shit. Oh, wow, I can't believe this is a lesson that we actually had to learn. Like, the only thing that upholds their wealth at this point is just, like, the Nazis, right? Like, the cops. That's it. It's just this, like, collective group of self-deluded losers who think that they are powerful because they pick on the most vulnerable people in the society, which is like law enforcement. There's no credibility left in any of this. Like, we don't need to actually. The only reason you need to take them seriously is because they're armed. That's it. They've got weapons and they're clearly willing to use them, and that's the only reason you should take them seriously. Outside of that, so they're not laws, right? They're just threats. That's it. I'm like, every single time I see a homeless encampment and like a tent city, I'm just like, yep, there's no credibility in this society whatsoever. It's just embarrassing. All right. I want to change the subject. I don't know what to change the subject to. I mean, I guess. College students rapidly losing the ability to read, as is the plan. It's like the people who are governing us are no longer interested in the idea of like a country, right? Like, they're not actually interested in the concept of like a nation. That nations really only exist as ideas, right? There really isn't any such thing as like a border or a like Canada doesn't exist. The United States doesn't exist. These are just concepts, ideas uh, uh, that we collectively are like on board with, right? Like the positive use case for why a border is useful is because it's like, no, this is the area where we get to self-govern, right? We live here. We believe that because we live here, we have the right to govern ourselves within these sort of traditionally established borders. And of course, the borders themselves are up for negotiation, but whatever, right? And so there's like a positive use case for it. But then it tips over into nationalism. And to be a nationalist is to say, I'm the best and you are all subordinate to me. That's inherently what nationalism is about. And when that fails, because it's a stupid idea, the countries that fell for that dumb think generally go through a pretty bad period of time. You know, I think about all the time, like how much better off we would have been if we had just destroyed Germany. Like if Germany was basically told, yeah, you're not a country anymore. Like we're going to split you east-west Germany. You don't get to be like a full country any longer. We're going to break you up into little countries. How much better off we all would be. Instead, we rehabilitated the Nazis and we're just like, yeah, Germany can be a thing again, and yeah, Nazi chancellor in NATO. That's fine. Come on to the United States and join our rocket programs, Nazis. Everything's totally fine. I just know that like the next 10 years I'm going to constantly be encountering just the most unrepentant losers, right? Like for the last 20 years there's been this like if somebody supported George W. Bush, for example, right? I still expected them to be capable of basic reason. That there was still this sense that they understood at the very least that they had to justify their position, right? That they had to put forward an argument so that we could have a discourse, so that we could have the back and forth, right? And that's just gone. It's just completely gone. That these MAGA guys and the blue MAGA people too, they just don't feel like they have to justify anything. That they want to do what they want to do because they want to do it. And that's it. That they're not really that much different than an ape. Really. And so for the next 10 years, I'm just going to constantly be dealing with that. Just this constant tidal wave of the stupidest people alive. Dave writes, John, I saw the same studies about the article, but in Canada they came to the same conclusions. It's even worse. Yeah. I actually think it's intentional, right? Like I think it's structural and I think it's intentional. And I think that it's being done on purpose because really they view us as cattle, right? They don't really view us as human beings. They don't view us as capable of spiritual ascension of any kind, of attaining self-awareness, right? They don't view us with dignity or respect or any of that kind of stuff. They don't, and in fact, they view all of that as a threat. That a society that's actually like aware of itself, like if you're not aware of yourself, then you certainly can't be aware of what's going on in your society. And if you're not aware of what's going on in your society, then you can't actually formulate or articulate a critique of that society in any way that makes any kind of sense, right? And as long as you can keep everybody stupid and in this sort of state of stupefaction, right, watching Marvel movies and shit, then they lack the capacity to even listen to somebody who has a critique, right? Like, if you think the apex of the culture is the new Marvel movie that's coming out, then somebody who says, this is all like proto-fascist propaganda, and it's all schlock and predictable and quite bad, frankly, well, then that person sounds, whoa, it's what are we doing here? It's impossible to actually connect meaningfully. It's pearls before swine. You can't actually have an intellectual conversation because you're just eating the slop. Nilo writes, speaking of reading, I finally published that article about LaRoucheism on Substack, John. It's pretty long, but I think you might appreciate it reading it. Maybe. Interesting. How do I find it? LaRouche, that's ringing a bell. I don't really know. LaRouche. Isn't that the ACP guys? Isn't that the fucking the Nazis in the United States, the National Socialists? Inside the room where America's brightest game out, how to avoid an AI apocalypse. What happened when 40 leading minds huddled to envision U.S. society in 2030 and how artificial intelligence will shake up the economy and jobs. Content writes, yes, LaRoucheites think they can build communism by playing to bigotry. Yeah, right? Like, it's just so... It's stupid on the face of it, right? I know how we'll make everyone rich by making them poor. I know how we'll get equality with inequality. I know how we'll get cold with heat. You know? Like, it's just immediately stupid, like, on the face of it. And so, like, listening to these guys talk, it's by its very definition just mental gymnastics, because their premise is stupid to begin with. Right? Like, women would be free if they would just subserviate themselves to men. Hulks M8, I think you're a new person here. Good to see you. Hope you're here to be beautiful. We have no faith in socialism because we already see the disaster that reigned with Kamala Harris. Okay, so, Hulks, with love in my heart, because you don't seem like you're being impolite or irrational or insulting anybody. But I think it's fair to say, from my position, I'm not trying to be dismissive, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm not trying to insult you, right? But it's just sort of the truth based on this single comment that I've seen here. I think the best thing for you to do, if you'd like to continue having a conversation with me, which I would love to have a conversation with you, is to just admit that you don't really know what socialism is. Kamala Harris is a fascist. Like, she's a Zionist. She's a cop. The kind of rhetoric that surrounds Kamala Harris or the Democrats as socialists is frankly kind of embarrassing. I would consider Kamala Harris, if I wanted to be as polite as possible, I would consider her to be far right. Like, she's further to the left than Donald Trump and the Republicans, but that's not saying much. Right? That's not saying much at all. So, if you're saying you don't have faith in socialism because of Kamala Harris, you're just sort of confessing and admitting, and I hope that you do, because I think that's a better position to be in, but you are just saying that you don't actually know what socialism is. And I hope that you're willing to comment more and ask more questions, because I would love to tell you what socialism actually is, and I'd love to give you some examples of what socialism actually is. And perhaps even give you a history of socialism and perhaps talk to you about what that is. But if you're basing your position on socialism on Kamala Harris, yeah, I would be against socialism too if that's what I was doing. But I don't know why you're doing that. Kamala Harris wasn't a socialist. She was a far right fascist, like literally supporting the genocide in Gaza, literally pledging to continue funding ICE. Like, yeah. Imagine thinking you could vote socialism into power with this system. Like, why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyhow, hopefully this Hulks didn't just come in to drop a one-liner and then leave. It's sort of embarrassing when that happens. I'd much prefer to have like an actual conversation, because it's just like, man, if you're thinking Kamala Harris is a socialist, it's like you're pretty far back. Like, that's pretty far back. Like, but that flows into the like classic, like, Democrat versus Republican line of reasoning, right? That if you're against the Republicans, you must be with the Democrats, or if you're against the Democrats, you must be with the Republicans. And all conversation has to just pivot and revolve around that conversation exclusively. And somebody like me who shows up and says, these guys are allies, like they're friends, they work together. They're not in opposition to one another. Like, the only reason they are in opposition is just because that's the structure of the system, that it's like a beauty pageant where the people get to pick which fascist they'd like to rule them. And the choice is very simple. Well, yeah, of course it is. Nilo, it's probably censoring because you're trying to put in like a website address, and that'll happen. Just tell me what to search on like Google. Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah, here, let's just do it. Oh, Nostrum. What's the title of your article, dude? On Substack. Content says, can he explain step by step how we can use this system to abolish property rights? Like, how is that possible in this system? Yeah, like, no, capitalists and like Westerners generally are pretty bought into the idea of property rights, right? That we should have invisible lines drawing around property, and that I should have exclusive right to property. Like, the concept of private industry is so wild. Like, the more you think about it, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, oh wow, how did we get suckered into believing that private property was a good idea? Nope. I got a YouTube channel. I'm just not finding it, dude. Content. No, I just want to know, how do we use this system to turn the state into a workers' union state that oppresses landlords? How? Content, don't you know landlords do a good job, right? Like, if it wasn't for landlords, how would you have a place to live? I mean, I don't know, like, yeah, sorry, dude. I'm just not finding it. It's real straightforward. Like, is this it? Is this our shtick? Just not finding it, dude. Like, straight up, not finding it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, you're not kidding, dude. Like, that's a lot. There's a great deal of resentment and confusion among Western leftists about how to revive working class consciousness and revolutionary political action in America and the West in general. Many have become convinced that too much time and energy has been and continues to be spent on bourgeois identity politics and wokeism. Alternatively, many have fallen into the trap of what might aptly be termed a fetish for purity, an academic and ideologically rigorous application and cultivation of theoretical developments that are always just over the horizon, always receding as we approach them. The situation is dire indeed. However, the problem with adopting the position that we need to talk to as many people as possible is a quantity over quality argument that ultimately smashes on the rocks of the vanguard's need to lead an unapologetically Marxist-Leninist communist party. It is this tension that is the backdrop and impetus for the topic of discussion today. It's a long one, dude. It's a long one. What's your concluding paragraph? We've finally reached the end of this epic inquiry, and I hope that I've managed to provide the means to understanding the lingering LaRouche connivances and fetters of fascism that continue to do their worst in the attempts to mummify the living left. I like that, the living left. That's nice. That's nice. I don't know, dude. This feels like pretty well sourced. Like, you got a lot going on in here. Jill Stein, the Green Party, the Social Democrats, the SSNP, fascists in Syria. Wow, you're like a dreamer of greater Syria. Goodness. All right. Yeah, there's a lot here, dude. My question, right, about LaRouche, it's like, why should I give a shit about this guy? Like, why should I really care about LaRouche? Like, I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, because you've obviously put in, like, a lot of time, right? But, like, it does just seem like, on the face of it, in a very, like, I know how we'll usher in equality with bigotry. Like, it just seems like you don't need to get, or at least I have always felt when it comes to this topic, like, of LaRouche, like if a mathematician came to me and said, hey, 1 + 1 = potato, I would say, no, it doesn't, and I would stop paying attention to them. That's pretty much how I've always felt about this LaRouche fellow. Is like, hey, if you want to organize with leftists, you have to condemn trans people. It's like, no, I don't, and I leave. Like, it just seems so obviously, like, fraudulent, like, so obviously, like, and moreover, it just seems like incredibly stupid. Like, it just seems like an incredibly stupid position to hold. That what we're going to do is we're going to ally with the racists and the bigots that are trying to destroy minority groups in the country, and I assure you they won't betray us. Like, they obviously will betray you. Like, they will very obviously betray you. The idea that the racists and the bigots are suddenly going to keep their word once you get power. No, they won't. So it's just tactically a bad idea. Unless what you're doing is lying. Right? Which I think is probably the most likely thing. Like, I think that the people who are leading like these like LaRoucheite kind of organizations are obviously fraudulent liars. Right? Like they're not actually interested in building an equitable society for everyone. They're not interested in that. They're interested in roping in and creating arguments to get in as many suckers as they can underneath their umbrella so that they can get enough of a following to gain power and then betray everyone. It's pretty straightforward. Like, it's pretty common to do this sort of stuff. And like the idea that like, yeah, we're gonna so please, like, basically you're asking minority groups and people who are in vulnerable positions to become their own gravediggers. Like, ally with me. Sure, we work with fascists, but it's for the greater good. They're gonna betray you. Like, they're obviously going to betray you. Like, it's so obviously a grift. And it's the kind of grift that works if you're, like, charismatic. Right? But fortunately, the leaders of these LaRoucheite groups are just, like, the ugliest people I've ever met in my life. Like, they're not charismatic people. They're not funny. They're not well spoken. They're not concise in their speech. They're not persuasive. And like, if one of them did have charisma, they could probably be a little bit more damaging. But like, these guys are so unappealing that, like, I think Midwestern Marx is probably the most charismatic of the batch, and he wisely shuts up about this stuff. Like, he doesn't really talk about it, and when he does talk about it, it's in a very like, we got to meet people where they are, and like, I understand your concerns. Like, he seems a little bit more self-aware, but like, some of these guys are just like the president of the ACP is just a repugnant person, right? He's just obviously repugnant. I can't imagine following this guy and actually thinking like, this is a good person to actually put my chips in. Just based on the basic language that he uses to describe things. Like, oh, like, this is where we're at. Okay. Like, we think that minority people should work with us while we work with Nazis. And if they don't, they're retarded. Oh, they're retarded anyway. Like, okay, bro, we're done here. Like, one hopes that you have leadership that is intelligent and credible, and I just don't see that amongst the LaRoucheites at all. Where I think it has the most effect is the multipolarity discourse. Can you be a little bit more specific on that? Like, my position, the only time I've really encountered these guys is because of the ACP, right? And that the ACP is a national socialist movement within America that is very, very obviously trying to co-opt communist rhetoric to introduce Nazism back into the discourse, right? Yeah, LaRouche is basically a Western version of Dugin. Like, and Dugin I consider to be completely incomprehensible. Like, I don't know who listens to Dugin and thinks that this is wisdom. Like, who is listen? Like, one of the things that I think like Jordan Peterson really revealed something about the human mind and humans can be entranced or stupefied, and you can just get into like a rhetorical puzzle box where you're like trying to puzzle out. I think that Zizek is a lot like this too. Um, I've gotten to the point with pretty much lecturers and speakers and things like this where if they're not concisely making their points, I just assume that they're a fraud. Like, if you can't concisely lay out what your point is and why it's important that your point is taken seriously within the space of about 5 minutes, I don't think that you're somebody we should be listening to. Very, very basically, like, if you're telling me, like, oh, to really understand them, you got to read this and all that kind of stuff, it's like, no, you're in a rhetorical puzzle box. What they're saying is nonsense. And that they're just sort of entrancing you because you're trying to solve a puzzle. They've convinced you somehow that if you go through their puzzle box, there'll be wisdom at the end. And all that's at the end is just a big fat giant turd. Right? And I consider that Dugin, LaRouche, Peterson, like all these guys, Zizek, none of these guys can like concisely articulate what it is they're saying because they're saying nothing that's important to listen to. Like, that's really it. That it's an exercise in intellectual masturbation. It's not real debate. It's not a real conversation. You're not actually learning anything. You're not actually discovering anything. You're just intellectually masturbating. Because it feels good to sort of it's on the same level as the people who have big debates about who would win in a fight, the Star Trek cast or the Star Wars cast. Right? It gets you in that like speculative brain, like, well, if we think about it, then it has that kind of thing, but it's just as worthless. Right? It's just as pointless. It provides just this, like, the same amount of value, which is no value at all. It's just an exercise in self-masturbation, right? And you're killing time, I guess. But what you're doing then is you're expanding. Like, imagine if it was Star Wars versus Star Trek, but it's the President of the United States, and you're basing your whole philosophy of life on these sort of meandering, pointless conversations that are meaningless and have no value in your society. And the real thing that drives me crazy about these sort of quote unquote intellectuals, I think it's very generous to call them intellectuals, is they say nothing meaningful whatsoever. Like, I've listened to about 3 hours of Dugin. I have no idea what that guy's talking about. Like, his third way, right? All this kind of stuff. It really just seems to be a way. How do we get Nazism back into the conversation? Like, that seems to be what all these guys are all about. Like, why are they so meandering and trying to circle around the point and not willing to actually, like, hit it precisely? It's because if they hit it precisely, they would be like, yeah, Hitler had a point, right? It seems to be what it's all about. That they're really trying to find a way to sneak Nazism back into the conversation without anybody noticing. I think Peterson was probably the most successful. Who gives a shit who LaRouche or Dugin is? And Zizek, I think, is just... I don't know why anybody gives a shit what this guy has to say about anything. I've never heard him say anything that was... Like, the only thing of interest that I've ever heard Zizek even start to say was masculinity and femininity are social constructs. It's like, yep, that's right. You don't need like 3 books and 50 lecture series to get to that point, right? Yeah, masculinity and femininity are social constructs. Just look at the royalty in 16th century France. And you'll be like, yep, Masculinity and femininity are social constructs. Absolutely. Yeah. And so basically that's where I land with like these ACP LaRouche guys, and like this is just like they're just trying to get you into an intellectual puzzle box in order to waste your time. Uh and I just don't think we should be biting down. Like they will try to goad you into wasting your time by being like, you just don't understand it, you need to do more to try to understand it. And it's like, no, that's literally not how this works, right? You failing to explain your position doesn't mean I have to invest more time in your failure. If you can't concisely articulate your point in 5 minutes or less, I'm leaving. Right? Richard Wolff articulated his point in 5 minutes or less. Chris Hedges articulates his point in 5 minutes or less. John Mearsheimer, 5 minutes or less. I have no reason to spend any more time on that with you, a person who seems to be a complete and total fraud. Like, the only thing you seem to have is financial backing. And we should be suspicious of that. Why is it that financial backers want to introduce into the conversation the idea of the meandering intellectual? Right? Oh no, I'm definitely not gonna read it on stream, bud. This is a monster of an article. Like I can really and I can tell that you've written it to be that way. Like this is a real like you definitely went into this being like, I want to be as thorough and explanatory as I possibly can. And I suspect that, like, when I do this kind of stuff, which I've done in the past, I'm not so much doing it because I want somebody else to really read it. In a lot of cases, I look back on the times when I've done similar stuff to this, and I've done it because I need to do it for myself, right? I suspect that you've been, like, sitting in your room and this has just been going and it's just been going round and round in your head over and over and over again. And you finally just got to the point where you were like, I just got to write this down. I got to get it out of my brain onto the page so that this hamster wheel of like, oh, the LaRouches and they did that, and then there's this, it'll finally stop, right? I suspect that's what I'm looking at here. And it seems like thorough. Thorough would be a good word to use. You got Scott Ritter, you got the Institute Schiller, the Liar's Office. Trump supporters include many common people who have not spent their lives thinking about politics. But Promethean PAC's Barbara Boyd is not one of these. I would describe her as Trump's most powerful intellectual supporter. She really believes in Trump, to the point of leading a splinter faction that broke from the original activist group centered around Lyndon LaRouche called LaRouche PAC, which he founded in the early 70s. Barbara was one of his original students. But Helga LaRouche, his wife and founder of the Schiller Institute, was a European lady who could not stand Trump's gross American behavior and manner of speech. Yeah, like you're pretty deep down the rabbit hole on this one, my man. For sure. This honestly, I probably will read this article. Just because it seems like you're connecting a lot of dots. And a lot of things that, like, I probably don't know that much about. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of this LaRoucheite influence on the communist movement in the United States is the affiliations of the inaugural chairman of the relatively new American Communist Party, Haz al-Din, split off from the admittedly defunct CPUSA, an executive board member of the plenary council of the ACP, Jackson Hinkle. Both have at least past connections to the LaRouche movement, which ought to be troubling for those American communists espousing a communist vanguard as the best, if not only real solution to the contradictions facing the working class of America. Not a LaRouchian vanguard that is more likely interested in using the communist movement as a sheepskin or Trojan horse to advance their ultimately anti-communist agenda. Yeah, that's a great. You should start with this, my man. Like, that was a quote from the Duran guys. Nice. Yeah, dude, what have you done? What have you done? Dude, I've definitely been here. I've definitely been here. Who? Okay. Who? Who is this guy even? Like, I really have never done any work at all on this guy because, like, an American political activist who founded the LaRouche movement, the National Caucus of Labor. He was a prominent conspiracy theorist, perennial pioneer. He began far left, 1940s. His movement sometimes described or likened to a cult. That's nice. Convicted of fraud, he served 5 years in prison. Drawn to socialist and Marxist movements. In the 50s, while a Trotskyist, yeah, he became engaged. Radical, yep, yep. Ugh. It just seems like there's too much kooky bullshit right now. There's just too much kooky, dumb bullshit. Like, suddenly now I've got to learn about this, like, LaRouche guy because there's a group of people who are like, University of Notre Dame political philosophers, so on and so forth. It must be nearly unique in American politics that a presidential candidate makes the interpretation of Plato a major issue in his campaign. LaRouche saw history as a battle between Platonists who believe in absolute truth and Aristotelians who rely on empirical data. I'm sorry, man. We're just like one step away from Zeus coming into the conversation, right? Uh, Eggs D writes, I'm worried about China and how they fit into this. The contradictions from my own observations are not promising. I mean, there's definitely seems to be a network. Uh, like with LaRouche, like, is this what we're talking about? We're making that connection? Because it just seems to me like in 2011, Stephen E. Atkins' Encyclopedia of Right-Wing Extremism and Modern American History called LaRouche the leading neo-fascist politician in the United States. In Architects of Fear, Johnson compares LaRouche's view to an Illuminati conspiracy theory. Johnson writes that after he wrote about LaRouche in the Minneapolis Star, LaRouche's followers denounced him as part of the conspiracy of elitists that began in ancient Egypt. But according to LaRouche, Aristotelians are not necessarily in communication or coordination with one another. From their standpoint, they are proceeding by instinct, LaRouche said. If you're asking how their policy is developed, if there is an inside group sitting down and making plans, no, it doesn't work that way. History doesn't function quite that consciously. Yeah, nonsense begets nonsense, right? Like, Hazeldin sounds like nonsense because his worldview is rooted in nonsense. I just like, it's just so wild. Like, look, all Marxism really is at the end of the day is just saying, hey, stuff exists and we should acknowledge that it exists. And that if we don't like the things as they exist, we can change those things. And there are some things we can't change. Like, you can't change gravity, for example. But, like, there are things we could change. And we should. Because it'd be better. And, like, that's kind of it. Like, that's the whole thing. Is that, like, things happen, and when those things happen, they have an effect. Cause and effect. And it just seems like so, like, we work so hard as a species and as a people to just, like, try to find some kind of, like, the world is divided into the Platonians and the Aristotelians, and the god Zeus has come from the. It's just like, or some things are, and some things are not. Mm-hmm. Nilo, he's anti-Zionist and hated the Queen of England, though, so he's on our side. Yeah. The Economist publishing a great title. You love to see these titles. Comfort meets constraint in China's most quote-unquote livable city. A high-income, low-pressure existence is not all it's cracked up to be. Get fucked, man. The Economist. I hate this shit. Like, what's the point? What's the point of being alive? Like, what's this, like, grind set? You gotta grind into it. If you're not grinding, you're not living. I'm like, shut up, man. Like, shut up. We should be chilling out. We should just be relaxing on the beach, you know? We should be playing video games and listening to music and watching movies and producing art and dancing and singing. Like, we shouldn't be engaging in this fucking ridiculous manic nonsense idea that life is about, like, grinding it away for a capitalist. Who gives a fuck about that? Like, I just don't get it. I just don't get why we're so committed as a people to this ridiculous nonsense. Why we care at all. Like, do you think this is going somewhere? Do you think that there is like an end game to any of this? We can't even get like, the vision of the West right now is we're gonna go to Mars. And, like, why? Why? Can you tell me actually why? Like, it certainly can't be for, like, exploration. There's a lot of stuff we haven't explored here. Right? Like, can you actually tell me why it's important that we get to Mars? Like, the ocean is right here. We haven't taken a look at what's the bottom of this thing. We don't know about most of the ocean. There's so much we don't know about the species that we live with. And the more we and I think the reason why we don't want to investigate that is because the more that we investigate the species that we live with, the more we begin to see that, like, oh, they're actually, like, not that far behind us. Like, they're not really that far behind us. Like, crows are a good one. You do some investigation into crows and you're just like, oh yeah, these guys, like, I'm dead ass convinced that crows are about as smart as we are. For sure. They're just lacking opposable thumbs and, like, hands. That's it. That if they had that, they could have gotten mastery of fire and they could have done all this shit for sure. They're as intelligent as we are. I think that about octopi. I mean, there's an obvious reason why octopi didn't get mastery of fire, right? Like, they got a whole other thing going on. But, like, this sort of the idea that we're the center of the universe, right? Like, it's something that's taking centuries and centuries and centuries for us to kind of come to terms with that no, we're not. Like, we really did used to believe that the Earth is the center of the universe. And over time, we're just steadily like, no, it isn't. Like, humans are the most important special little boys in the world. And it's like, no, we're not. We're just one of another of all the species that exist. Like, for all we know, other species are having very similar conversations to the ones that we're having. We just figured out how to write things down and persist those ideas through time. Right? That seems to be the big trick for building institutional power in the world, is like leaving shit behind for the next generation of people to be like, what's all this then? Like, that seems very important. And we're the animals that figured out how to do it. Looks like. And it's so goddamn annoying that we're just in this moment of time where we're like anti-intellectual, anti-education, anti-school, like anti all this kind of stuff. Because what it means is that the next generations just will be dumber. They'll just be dumber. And when they're dumber, we'll all make fun of them the way that we do, right? The way that we always do. Oh, kids these days and all this kind of shit. But, like, the truth is that they'll be dumber because it's completely our fault. They'll be dumber because how could they not be? Instead of having, like, one teacher for every 20 students, they'll have one teacher for every 100 students. And the teachers won't even be paid a living wage. They'll just literally be doing it for the love of the game. And the schools will be in decay and they won't be funded. And the only schools that will have funding and proper teachers will be like the private schools where they're taught that they are a superior species. Well, where they'll be taught like a supremacist worldview. And so you'll have idiot kids graduating from private schools believing that they're superior than the kids that graduated from private institutions. And it's just like... And so, yeah, of course they can't read. Of course they'll be stupid. And that's what's just going to be so... Like, the next generation is going to inherit institutions that they don't know how... They won't know how anything actually works. And so, of course, the people who will take over will just be the bullies. They'll just be the people who just push shit around and just are like, yep, we're going to do this. What are you going to do about it? Tough. Right? Like, meanwhile, you're going to have, like, a country like China who's actually, like, educating its citizens in a huge way, in a massive way. And, like, your model is a model of competition. And guess what? You're going to lose. Like, you're just going to lose. And you're going to lose for very simple, straightforward, clean reason. Elaney, good to see you over on Twitch. Because they're funding education. We're not. Real, straightforward, easy shit. Ugh. All right, guys. Joe, good to see you. I think I'm going to finish this one up today. It's a little bit early, but I'm hungry. Do something really nice for yourself this week, you know? Like, I'm glad that you came, and I'm glad that you found the catharsis. Oddity, always good to see you. I'm glad that you found the catharsis or you found what you needed when you got here. Um, do something really nice for yourself. Because, like, this is clown shoes shit. Like, I too also wish that things could be better. I too also wish that we lived in a society that was not actively betraying itself, that was actually trying to build institutional power and like a legacy for tomorrow. I wish that we were like heading towards the Star Trek future, right? And that we were actually like thinking about how to solve problems and doing that kind of stuff. I wish that we lived in that society too, but we don't. We don't. We live in a society that's consuming itself for money. We're the Ferengi, right? We're dumbasses. We're stupid. Uh, and so do something nice for yourself. Try not to carry it around with you. And just live a good life. Yeah, live a good life. Always remember, guys, each and every one of you is a quantum being, walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just be the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck.